All right. How is everybody doing? I hope everyone is doing good. Please let me know if the sound coming from my microphone is not good. If there's an echo, there's something that you'd like me to change. Other than that, welcome everyone. This is my first live Ask Me Anything session. So maybe some hiccups, technical hiccups we'll have along the way. Maybe I'm still learning. I've never streamed anything before. But for example, here we're supposed to have our chat widgets. Oh yeah, okay. I'm starting to see the questions popping up in the chat widgets. So I don't want to waste everyone's time. So I'm going to be reading the, okay, thank you. Thank you. Perfect. Yeah, I love the feedback. All right, so let's get going. Carlos says, perfect. What advantages? I'm going to pin the message that I am reading right now. So Carlos says, what advantages or uses would the polyglot SA have if he is working only for the country he resides in? That's an interesting question. I think, generally speaking, being polyglot means you have access to more information, and that I think gives you an edge, right, over everyone in your own country. So if you're speaking a language that people in your own country are not speaking or not easily speaking, I think that gives you an advantage because you can work with international companies, you can work with big companies, right? And also you could work remotely. With the pandemic, we've seen right now that we can work remotely. It's not like before it was hard to believe it, but right now actually we can work remotely. So I think that's a big advantage that it gives you. The other thing would be that a lot of documentation are in English. So I think English right now is kind of mandatory. I try to write, blog posts and stuff in French, in Arabic. Those are languages that I speak, but it's hard to convey, especially that, the technical words and everything is around English. So I think that's something that everyone needs to master. Other than that, yeah, I think the two big advantages would be the ability of working remotely, and also gives you an edge, right, when you're applying to the job, so the company could see that you have something that other people don't have. All right, so let's see the second one. Could you elaborate more on the different responsibilities, skills of an enterprise solutions architect compared to what I do right now? I think the biggest difference is that I work with multiple companies. I work with multiple clients and not only with one, right? But if you are an enterprise architect, you would be working with your own customer. You would be working with the company that hired you. But right now I have the ability to work with different companies, different sizes, different industries, solving different problems. Sometimes I'm working on a live streaming problem. Sometimes I'm working on building a data lake. Sometimes I'm working on a data ingestion pipeline using the Hadoop ecosystem. Other times it's a serverless application to I would say just an e-commerce serverless application. So that variety comes and gives you a lot of advantages, and it gives you also a lot of experience. And I think working as an enterprise solutions architect, in my opinion, right? Please take this with a grain of salt. I'm just sharing my experience and my points of view. I think, yeah, that would be the biggest difference. All right, question number 3. Do you happen to know how the whiteboard session in a remote interview might be? Program used for the session expectations. Great question. So as a solutions architect, you're doing a lot of whiteboarding, right? Whiteboarding, because yes, we used to use whiteboards, but right now with the pandemic and everything, we use digital applications. I'm pretty much a big fan of Lucid Chart. but there is no, AWS doesn't actually forces us to use one specific software or other. Everyone are free to use whatever software they're comfortable with. So to go back to your question, you say in a remote interview might be. So I interviewed some people, because as part of being a solutions architect, you're also welcome to hire people and to develop people and help them grow and mentor them and all these kind of things. And when I interviewed a few people for different positions within AWS, doing a whiteboarding exercise is part of the interview process, right? And so we ask the candidate to either have a whiteboard behind them, to either use whatever application they're comfortable with. Really, it doesn't matter. Or to use a pen and paper. And so they would be walking us through the solution, writing in their paper, and then at the end, they would show us the diagram. So there's really no, it's whatever tool you're more comfortable with. All right, so let's move, and please, if you have any follow-up questions, just let me know. All right, so, and then we have question number 4. Sorry for the long post. Don't worry about it. That's why I'm here now. I found this solutions architect position with only these very basic qualifications below. Would this be entitled for a solutions architect associate? So they're asking for 3 years experience in technology. They're asking for the ability to adapt to new technologies, learn quickly. They're asking for ability to think strategically, innovatively, and creatively using judgment and data. Okay. And so the question, I guess, is, would this be for a solutions architect associate, right? Well, here's the thing. There are really multiple teams at AWS. There are multiple solutions architects at AWS. There's multiple segments. There are multiple industries. Sometimes you're a solutions architect working with startups, for example. Sometimes you're a solution architect working with a specific industry, for example, telecom industry. And sometimes you are working with a specific region. For example, North America. For my case, I work with Canada East. So that's the region. I work with ISVs and DNBs. So ISVs are independent software vendors. And those are customers, or those are companies who build software for other users, right? Like SaaS, like SaaS companies. And DNBs, digital native businesses. So those are companies who are natively built, right, in the cloud, and they grow in the cloud, and they build their solutions 100% on the cloud. So, okay, so that's the first part of the question. The second part is AWS is no different than other big companies like Google and Microsoft in terms of levels when you get hired. So when you get hired, you get assigned a level, right? In AWS, for example, there's L4, L5, L6, L7, and it goes all the way to L9. I think L10. Maybe Jeff Bezos is the only one who has L10. I don't know. I don't know a lot of L10. But it's really tough to be in that L9, L10. Google have also their own, they have their CE3, SE, I don't know, okay. I'm not sure about these things, but the bottom line is there are levels. And when you get offered a job, you get assigned a level, right? So after doing the interview and everything, we say that, hey, we offer you this position and we think that you would be best for this level, join this team to be specialized in this kind of, right, geographic industry or whatever. And so associates, I think in AWS is level 5, if I'm not mistaken. It's either level 4 or level 5, so it would be an entry level, right? That doesn't mean that you don't have all the responsibilities that a solutions architect has, because I think you do. That doesn't mean that we give you things that are easy. That's not true. I think it means that we will be providing you a little bit more mentorship, and we will be providing you a little bit of help throughout your career, and then once you go through the onboarding process and you finish whatever program your manager suggests that you go through, and you work with your manager to prove your I would say to work on your promotion. We call them promo docs, promotion doc. So you work with your manager on your promotion docs. And so you need to do this. This is the goal for the year. This is the goal for the semester, whatever. That's when you get you get a promotion, and then you go up to L5 and L6, right? So, and above. So this sounds, from the descriptions that you put, this sounds like an L4, L5, an associate level. I think that's why. But there's something also you need to know is once you join AWS is such a big company, and Amazon is such a big company that it has, pretty much the company has its own culture within. There's, you learn Amazon's way, the Amazonian way of writing documents. You learn the Amazonian way of attending meetings. You learn the Amazonian way of interacting, of talking to media, of approaching and solving problems. So there's a lot of things to learn. So I think joining as an associate gives you a lot of benefits, because it's like you can start from a clean slate. You bring your expertise, you bring your experience, you bring your problem solving skills, and then you get assigned mentors, and you can shadow other essays and everything. So it gives you, I would say, more room to grow and more room to learn the Amazonian way. So I think it's a great opportunity, if you ask me. That's why maybe there's not a lot of ask in terms of experience years. They're asking like for 3 years experience in technology. And there's also other programs that I touch on. You could watch my previous interview with a TakeU graduate. And the TakeU graduate, and a TakeU is a different program also that we actually can hire people freshly graduated from school, right? And Amazon pretty much, or AWS, pays you to go through the program and for pretty much 6 months, and then there's another 6 months where you join, I think, as an associate. I'm not sure, but you can check that video. I'll leave a link in the description later, and you could check that video's link for more answers. Carlos, please tell me if I answered your question. And so I will be moving to the next one. All right, so we got a question from Darwin Velasco. I'm gonna pin it. And the question says, what are the typical daily activities that an associate architect does? Does he or she review real scenarios with customers, or maybe test architectures and present proposals to customers? Maybe do programming? Is it enough to know and handle CloudFormation well? All right, so there are a lot of questions in this question, and so let me split them and address them one by one. I'm gonna start from the bottom. Is it enough to know and handle CloudFormation well? I think, okay, so here's the thing. You can learn one tool and be an expert in that tool and do magic with that tool. That's great. I have nothing against that. But because of the nature of the job, you will be working with different customers. For one customer, for example, they are big on CloudFormation, right? And they want to do everything in CloudFormation. So knowing CloudFormation, you'll help them a lot. And then in the afternoon, you'll be talking to a different customer who wants to build everything in Terraform, or maybe something in CDK. So is it enough to know one tool? I think it's always better to. I think it's always better to be aware of what's happening, outside around that tool. To be aware, to be up to date, to know the new things. As I mentioned, for example, in a previous video, all I knew about Kubernetes was the fact that it is a containers management, a platform, and all these kind of things. I never really dove deep into it until I had a professional need, and then I started learning about it. So I think if CloudFormation is what you master, that's great. That's already gets you to the door. You could build a lot of things with CloudFormation. And then if you have a customer that wants you to work with them on CDK, for example, or Terraform or whatever, you have the base, and then you could take a half a day to get up to date on these tools, to learn about them, and then AWS is big on continuous learning, right? So if you talk to your manager, and they could even expand. You could even expand the training. Although there's always trainings in AWS, there's not a day that passes where I don't receive invitations to attend a training about anything, DynamoDB, about new services, about new features, about old services, about how to interact with customers, about even services that are launched, big services in the industry that are not AWS related, right? So there's always training. And so you only need the ability, you only need the will to learn, and that would help you tremendously. So your second question was, what are typical daily activities that an associate architect does? So the daily activities so there's this book that I read a while ago and I loved, and I actually want to recommend it, and it's called The Phoenix Project. I'm just gonna write it, guys. I'm just gonna write the book name here and you'll see why. It's called The Phoenix Project. And in the book, they talk about 4 types of work. So people in IT, they do pretty much 4 types of work. The first work is what we call engineering work, which is, updating a framework, which is writing a POC, which is maintaining a library. It's basically stuff that is completely engineering wise. The second type of work is business work. That's the work that you do to bring money to the company. If you're doing an e-commerce website, for example, you ship a new feature, you fix a bug. So this is work that is really related to the business the company in. The third type of work that we do is daily work, answering emails. If you're using, for example, a project management tool like Jira, so assigning your tickets and working your tickets, attending meetings, so everything that you do every day. And in the book, they talk about the 4th type of work, which is, they call it the unplanned work. And they say that that's the silent killer. So you're working to finish and close your sprints, and then there's a bug in production, and that was not planned. So you stop whatever you're doing and you jump on the bug, right? So, or I don't know, priorities change, and then now you need to work on something. So that's unplanned. And so in daily activities, they pretty much go around these 4 types of work. There's the fact of, because we talk a lot with our customers, and you're always engaging customers, sharing with them new stuff, suggesting solutions, getting their feedback, working on them, or working with them on strategic actions to take moving forward. You'll have to be checking your email. So that's the first thing, right? So you're checking your email. You are spending a lot of time also in training. That's the thing. Your manager will not tell you, hey, there's this training booked, you'll have to go attend it. No, it's up to you, right? You are receiving trainings, you are receiving invitations, and it's up to you to book time in your calendar to go attend this training, because we expect you to be always on top of your game. So that's the second thing that you're doing every day. You're also managing, because you're not working alone, you're working within a team. As a solutions architect, you're working with an account manager, you're working with different specialists, you're working with people from different departments, like sales departments. You're always talking with services teams. So, you use, for example, CloudWatch. You might be talking to the people, to the developers who build CloudWatch service, and ask them for a feature. And because in AWS, 90% of the features are feedback coming from our customers. So I'm working with the customer and the customer say, hey, it would be great if CloudFormation had this feature. So I take that, and I go back to the CloudFormation team and I say, hey guys, my customer said that they would appreciate if we had this feature. And so we work together with them, right, in order to implement potentially this feature. So this is the third thing that you do in your daily life. What else? There are meetings, of course, with customers, external meetings, but also internal meetings with the different departments. As I said, following up with services teams, meetings internally with your own team to do follow-up meetings and cadence meetings to know what everyone is working on. What else do you do in your daily basis? Research. We do a lot of research because when I'm talking with a customer, I wish, but I don't always have all the answers, right? So I spend some time researching the solution and trying to come up with the right answer before, because you wanna, as a solutions architect, you wanna gain customers' trust. And you shouldn't be afraid to say, I don't know, when you don't know. So you don't wanna just say stuff to get by. If you don't know something, you wanna be able to say, hey, thank you for the question. Let me check and get back to you, and let me ask. There's always specialists that you can ask about these kind of questions. So there's a lot of research. Another big also part of the job is designing the solutions, which means booking time, put in headphones, put in whatever music that you like, and really trying to find some time to focus and build solutions. I've talked about, for example, about the non-functional requirements in my previous video. Build those, then you get to the functional requirements, then you'll start getting this back and forth with the clients, with your clients, understanding their problems and building these solutions for them. I think that sums it up. Yeah, I can't think of anything else on top of my mind. So that sums it up. All right. So typical activities. Okay. Reveal. Does he review real scenarios with customers? Yes. The thing is, as an SA, we don't have access to production accounts, to customers' productions accounts. I can't, customers, I don't have access to my customer's account. I can't just go behind their back and see the services they're using or stuff like that. But I review real use case and real scenarios with them. So customer want to build their platform to do, a live streaming application. That's a real life scenario. Then we talk about that. We talk about real life business realities, challenges, numbers, how many users did they expect, what are the features they want. We talk about roadmaps and timelines, and we're engineers, right? We work in iterations. So here's what we're gonna build in the first iteration. Here's what we're expecting 12 months from now. So, and all those are real life scenarios, but I myself don't have access to their accounts. All right, so we have a question from Taha, and Taha says, if you were to recommend 3 books to anyone interested in cloud solutions architecture, what would those books be? Okay, so I personally, I haven't been big on books lately, and for a few reasons. First reasons is my eyes are becoming super tired. So I replaced books by audiobooks and by podcasts. And so and also I've been driving a lot, going to work, traffic, and a lot of things. So I find it that it's a better use of my time to put in an audiobook or put in a podcast while I am driving and I'm listening to or just doing a walk or biking or something like that. So I can share with you podcasts that I have been following. Actually, let me just open my podcasts application and let me share with you the podcast that I have in my library. Actually, it's probably better to have them here. All right, library shows. So there's definitely the AWS podcast. That's you know what, I'll share these links. I'm just gonna go through them and I'll share the links with you a little bit afterwards. So there's the AWS podcast because it's short episodes, and where they share all the new stuff about AWS. So it's great to be on top of the game of what's happening. There's the Serverless Chat by Jeremy Daly. I highly recommend that. I'm always listening to it. There's the Cloudcast also, which is a podcast that I'm always listening to. So yeah, I'm gonna stop at these three: Cloudcast, Serverless Chats, and the AWS official podcast. I'll make sure to share links in the description and also in the comments at the end of this. And also, it's hard to listen, I think, to architecture. It's hard to have architecture books being transformed into audiobooks because there's diagrams and stuff like that. So right now I tend to read everything, related to architecture. I read like blog posts and stuff like that, and everything around the cloud and around AWS and around all these services. I tend to consume it as an audio in audio platforms, because the job of an SA, you're expected to be on top of your game on technical stuff, but also you're expected to know a lot about business practices, about industry standards, about where the industry is going, right? I like to always try to predict what's going to happen in the next 2-3 years. So I find myself always, for example, one of my favorite podcasts is The Future of Everything by the Wall Street Journal, where basically they try to talk about concepts and how they could evolve in the future, right? AI in the future, farming in the future. So I try to get all this kind of knowledge and try to tie it back and try to connect it with the technical knowledge that I have. Okay, so Darwin says again, or maybe, Taha says, how can a developer with good experience in AWS and serverless transition land a job as an SA at AWS? Well, I think you apply, you apply to the position. I always use LinkedIn. That's what I always use to apply to positions or to interact with other employers, with hiring managers and stuff like that. I think what you can do is two things: is either you can apply to the role, and you could go to Amazon.jobs. Right? And you could apply. There's a ton of positions there. Or if you know someone, you can ask them to give you an internal referral, right? And so they would pretty much go to that specific job, and they will refer you, and you just send them your resume. So from 200 resumes, I think only 5 gets really pass the screening and gets in front of the hiring manager. That's something I might talk a little bit more in an upcoming video. So I think there's also a big side of, I wouldn't say luck to it, but just being in the right time, in the right moment, asking for the right position, right? Because there's a lot of demand and there's obviously not enough offer. So that's interesting to keep that in mind. Other than that, you could always reach out, in LinkedIn, you see all the jobs there, and you could always reach out to the hiring managers there. Usually there's a name and you could, add them, send them. For me, it was through LinkedIn. I can't remember if it was me who applied or if someone reached out of the blue. I really can't remember, but I'm sorry, I don't have any other insights. It's really, I think it's a boring answer, but it's the only answer that I have. Basically apply. I'm sorry. All right, so okay, is there something as a serverless SA as AWS? Great question. So within AWS, there are what we call TFCs, technical field communities, which means that you get to specialize in a specific technology or in a specific industry. So I am part of the serverless TFC, which means I get to specialize in serverless, which means I have access to features that are still in beta, which means I can help other SAs win across, the whole country, across Canada. Even if my specific region is Canada East, if someone needs a specialist in serverless in Vancouver, I could be there and I could jump on the call and I could help. So yes, there are specialists for serverless, there are specialists for Kubernetes, specialists for databases, specialists for networking, specialists for security, everything you can think of. There are specialists within AWS, and we rely a lot on these people because we know that you can't possibly master the 200 plus services that we have right now. It's just inhuman, I guess. And even if at some point you master all of them, by the time you do it, there would be already 200 plus more services. So we rely on these specialists when we're talking to customers and we're trying to solve problems. For example, I have a real use case right now talking to one of my customers in Montreal, and we come up with a design, with an architecture, but we're not sure from a security perspective, we're not sure that what we've done is the right way to go. So what I'm gonna do is the next meeting, I'm gonna bring a security specialist with me, to support me in that meeting, and then we'd be able to get their feedback. All right, so another question from Taha is it easier to land a job as a TAM? So for people who don't know, TAM is a technical account manager at AWS and then transition into an SA, or should one aim for an SA position directly? Interesting. I know a lot of people within AWS who started as a TAMs and then transitioned into Solutions Architect. But did they start with TAM because it's easier? That I'm not sure. That I don't know. I have never interviewed for TAM. Also, when I interview people to join AWS, it's only for the SA role, so I'm not sure. But it's interesting. As I said, I know a lot of people who transitioned into Solutions Architect after being a TAM. So for people who are not familiar with TAM, a technical account manager is someone who works closely with customers to really help them manage all their resources and manage their operations on a daily basis. A solutions architect is only involved when there's a need to design a solution, to build a roadmap, to build an architecture, solve a problem. But at TAM, they are in direct contact with the customer, right? And they're able to take them by the hand and accompany them in their journey more closely and work closely with them. So yeah, that's it. All right, so Zakaria says, a slightly personal question. What's your education academic background? Curious to know your journey becoming an SA at AWS. All right, great. I'll be happy to answer. So I have I did an engineering school, computer science, 4 or 5 years. Then after that, I got my master's degree in distributed systems. That was 12 years ago, a long time ago. Back then, distributed systems, it was more about Corba, and it was more about, I forgot, what was that? The Microsoft protocol, I forgot about that, okay. Yeah, it's funny. So that was my master's degree. And then I did a second master's degree in theoretical computer science. And that because I wanted to be a teacher, ironically, at that point. And to become a teacher, because I was in France, to become a teacher, you need a research master's degree rather than a professional master's degree, right, to work with. So in order to work in academia, you need a research master's degree. So I did a second one in theoretical computer science. And in that one, we were more studying the basics of, the basics of computer science, right? We've been doing mathematics for the past 4,000 years, 5,000 years. Egyptians have been doing mathematics, Chinese, and I see like the old people, the old Egyptians and old Chinese have been doing mathematics. But computer science, we've only been doing that maybe for the past 80 years, maybe 90 years. So there's a big part, a big foundation of mathematics and logic that allowed us to build the current day computer science. And so in theoretical computer science, we were studying this math. Like everyone uses the for loop. Everyone knows while do when you write code, but what is the theory behind while do, and how does the computer approach it, and what's the logic behind it? So that's the things I was studying. And then I worked as a backend developer, right? As a startup for a couple of years. And then have been working as a backend developer. I've done full stack developer. And then I was a team lead. And then I was a technical lead for a couple of years as well. At that point, I was working a lot with PHP, with Laravel, with JavaScript, Node.js, the LAMP stack, the LIMP stack. I was working also a lot with big data, databases, stuff like Teradata, stuff like that. And then after that, I wanted to try a management position. So I was a manager of the web team. So I've always worked within web, right? And so after that, after being a manager for a couple of years, I was like, I'd like to bridge this. I'd like to combine the technical aspects and the people and business aspects. And that's where I came back to solutions architecture, and I worked as a solutions architect for a few years for different companies. And then I think I applied to AWS, and yeah, that's pretty much my background. All right. Okay, Adrian just got your course a couple of weeks ago. I didn't check the course. Please feel free to share the link. Adrian Cantrell, please feel free. All right, so someone called DJVR saying, do you report your work to one boss or to several depending on the project? So as a solutions architect, I'm part of a team of multiple solutions architects, and we all have one manager above us. And in my case, that's Tony, that I interviewed for a previous video. Please check that video. I'll leave a link in the description. Great guy. And so yeah, he's my manager. He's always my manager, regardless of which customer I work with, right? So customers, I work with them like I don't like the term, but just for the ease of grasping, I would say like a consultant. So it's like a consultant. I work with these customers, but I always have one manager. And yeah, there's a hierarchy there, and we work also with different teams, as I said, like sales team, and like the account manager that I work with have their own boss, but then we're part of the same team. So think of it as like having small tribes, like the Spotify model. So we're having small tribes, but then everyone who is solutions architect is part of a bigger tribe, and everyone who's sales is part of a bigger tribe, and it goes like that. Okay, yeah, my eyes are starting to get tired. Let's see. Taha says, are AWS TechQ internships exclusive for fresh graduates? What if one has been working in the cloud field for a while and has graduated a long time ago? It's not exclusive. It's used, I think, a lot by graduates, but it's not exclusive. Definitely, you can apply to the TechQ program anytime in your career. You just have to find the job in the Amazon.jobs board and you apply to it. You just need to find an opening and then you apply to it. Of course, there's a whole process there. I'll also make sure to link up more links, more resources about that. Okay, so Zakaria says, I just paused your course to watch this live for extra motivation. Loving the course so far. Awesome. All right. Farouk says, hey, it's 12. Oh, wow. UK, and I have early appointment in the morning. Is there a recording of this valuable live cast? Yes, my friend, I will make this available. Don't worry. I don't want you to miss your early appointment. Thank you for dropping by, but I will make sure the link is available. So Carlos Farouk, lives are not erased unless the uploader wants to. Exactly, yeah. Lives are not erased unless I want to, and I'm not going to erase this one. And Carlos said, are you familiar with TOGAF? Oh, yes, definitely, 100%. I'm working, actually, the non-functional requirements video that I have built, that I have published a couple of days ago is highly inspired by TOGAF. But yeah, I went through a lot of their material courses and everything. Okay, so I like LinkedIn. It's too OP in my opinion. What do you mean OP? I'm only familiar with OP in Reddit, in Reddit terms, like original poster. So yeah, what do you mean it's too OP? Okay, so Mexican Max says, what's your funniest engineering project you did recently? Interesting question. Funniest that I did recently. Funniest. I'm gonna have to ask you to define funniest. A lot of the work I do is challenging. I don't think it's funny. I don't think any of the stuff that I worked on recently was funny. It was definitely challenging. You know what? A funny video that I'm thinking about right now is I see that a lot of YouTubers are doing it, and I'm just, wanted to do it because it's fun, is reacting to AWS memes. There's a lot of memes out there, and I just wanted to make a video and react to a couple of them just for fun. You guys let me know if you're down for the idea. Yeah, just thinking about it. So yeah, that would be I think that would be funny. All right, so DGVR says, if a person, okay, Max, overpowered, like, yeah. I think it is. LinkedIn has this weird, it's becoming this weird place, especially LinkedIn influencers sharing stories that have no relation with work environment or job of professional. I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's becoming weird. It's becoming weird. But personally, I always used it to find jobs, to connect with hiring managers and stuff like that, my previous colleagues and stuff like that. So that's pretty much why I do it. You don't find me scrolling a lot and engaging in discussions there. All right, so DGVR says, if a person is 45 years old, can he or she apply to work as an AWS Solutions Architect Associate entry level in Amazon, or is there any age restriction? I'm really not aware of any age restriction at all. I don't think age has come, and I really did a dozen of interviews last year. Age never was a point of discussion. Usually, we don't ask, about age and stuff like that. I would say, my friend, go for it. I don't think you will be, excluded or whatever because of age. I've never heard of anyone. Yeah, it's really not something that we look at. It's all about, I would say, skill level and a lot of things, but really not about age. Okay, Jean Garcia says, is computer science necessary to be a solutions architect? No, definitely not. And you know what? Let me share with you a quick link where I asked my manager, Tony, in the previous video, exactly the same question, and I'll let you hear him. I'll let you listen to his answer to what he says. But basically, in a nutshell, no, you don't have to. So just give me 1 second. I'm gonna find the link for you. I'm gonna share the link with you, and you could. So where is developer background? So copy the link. I got it. And I'm going to share it with you right now. Bam. So yeah, I invite you to have a look at that. I'm sure you will get all the answer to your question. All right, let's get to the next one. Many people are changing careers due to the pandemic. Yes. Some people, unfortunately, are forced to change it due to the pandemic. Other people have found new opportunities, like working from home, working remotely. I know a lot of people who are now, you could live in Canada and work with a company in France or Germany or whatever. So it's a double-edged sword. Okay, Rosebell says, what makes for a good client from SA perspective? The company I work at is relatively new at cloud. I've been learning AWS and leading a team on a new greenfield project. What would you recommend a client who is new at cloud native solutions focus on to help have productive conversation with solutions architects when architecting solutions? Great question. Great question. So it's certainly super easy to work with clients who have documentation around their architecture or their infrastructure. Clients who have numbers, right? When you design for fault tolerance, when you design for scalability, you need numbers. You need to know how many users do you have right now, how many users do you expect to have in whatever, 6 months, 12 months, what is the throughput that you have for your databases? How many requests per second are getting? So these tremendously help when you design a solution. So a customer who have taken the time to review their architecture, to load test their infrastructure, they know at what point they need to auto scale. Right? Sometimes it's 5 p.m. For example, you need to auto scale because that's rush hour, whatever, depends on the business. So yeah, this is something really appreciated. The second thing is a customer who have mapped out their infrastructure and they're able to present a diagram. It doesn't have to be fancy. It's just a diagram that has components. I've worked with a lot of customers who use the C4 model. Or whatever model you want to use. It's just diagrams that show your infrastructure, and you can pinpoint here and you say, you see this network that going from on-prem to our servers, that's where there's a problem, that's what we want to work on. Or you see this database here that is connecting to these 4 applications, mobile, web, whatever, we need to have a proxy there. So, these 2 things help, and I really always appreciate when a customer comes to the meeting prepared with numbers and stuff like that. Otherwise, I will be asking these questions and we will be building this diagram before, right? Something else solutions architects appreciate a lot is when a customer took it upon themselves to go through the well-architected framework. It's a free tool that AWS offers. We give you a lot of, it's a tool you can find in your console, and we ask you a lot of questions and we go through all the pillars: security, fault tolerance, scalability, all these pillars, and we ask you a lot of questions. And while answering these questions, you are getting to know better your infrastructure. And at the end, there's a report that is generated, and it gives you ideas on what things you should focus on. For example, if you're lacking some security stuff, for example, if your current application is not really scalable much. So a customer who has gone through this well-architected framework, it's highly beneficial for the customer, right? But it's also highly beneficial when we start doing the meetings with the customer. All right. So let me go to the next one. Ahmed says, how was the loop interview experience in AWS? It was tiring, exhausting. You pretty much do 5 interviews in one day. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's worth it. Good things comes to those who take hard routes and do. I think if there's any advice I would give anyone is be prepared to go the extra mile. Be prepared to do something your peers are not willing to do. Be prepared to go to do the extra stuff, right? And preparing for the interview and going through the interview, that's definitely something that's a lot of people shy away from because it's scary. But such are a lot of things in life, right? When I proposed to my girlfriend, that was scary, right? But I did it anyway, and now I'm happy. I think Yeah, it is. It requires studying. It requires preparation. It's not something to take really lightly. But I always tell my friends, go for it, prepare, book the interview, try to go through it, and then after that, you decide whether you want to go with the opportunity or not. Don't stop yourself from the beginning. Don't say, oh, I'm not sure I want to do it. I would say just do it, right? And then let your future self decide. So the loop was multiple types of interviews. There's the interviews around the role itself. There's behavioral interviews with situations like, how would you react if you were in this position? How would you react given this? Or have you ever been in a situation where something happened and then you had to react? How did you do it? Stuff like that. So that's the behavioral. There's a big aspect around Amazon leadership principles, the 14 LPs. I'm not sure. I think we added another one recently. There's also the presentation that you need to do. So you choose an architecture and then you present it to a live audience, and they ask you questions, and then you answer them, and you pretty much defend your solution. As I said, there's technical questions. There's also interviews around services and stuff like that. So I have also a specific video around the AWS interview process. I'll share that link with you as well. All right, Zakaria says, thanks for answering. Really interested and inspired journey. Yeah, my pleasure. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask. All right, DGVR says, thanks for the answer, my friend. Thank you for being here. Adrian says, this stuff is really valuable info for people looking to get into the industry. Thanks. My pleasure. Yeah, I really would be, I'm happy to help. So if you have any other questions, feel free. Adrian says, nice t-shirts. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, we are cats family. We love our cats. But actually, let me show you. This is a Splunk. This is actually a Splunk t-shirt. It's a swag I got from last reInvent. Not last year, but the year before the pandemic. I like to get swags. Sockets and t-shirts and stuff like that from companies all over. Nerds. All right. So yeah, Max says overpowered. Yeah, I get it. All right, you know what? I will react to AWS memes. I think it would be fun as well. So Adrian says, you can be 20 and uninterested in tech, or you can be 50 and love tech. It's all about enthusiasm. Age literally is just a number. I couldn't agree more. Although tech is hard, it's really tough to be in tech all your life. So I understand people who start tech. I mean, there's this saying that we used to say back in France is, we learn how to code so we don't have to code later, right? It's like you learn how to code so later you could grasp a lot of things and grow your knowledge, and then start working, seeing the big level picture, right? And moving to other job roles and stuff like that. I know people who have been developers all their life and they're super happy. It's a great place. I still enjoy developing and writing code. I know people who want to change and go to more management position. It's just a different way of approaching it. So yeah, it's whatever floats your boat, I guess. All right, thank you. We'll check out the link. Also, thanks for sharing what you know with everyone. Yeah, man, my pleasure. Okay, so Louis says, and guys, I will have, we have only 7 minutes left, so I'll try to go through these quickly. So Louis says, I am currently infrastructure DevOps engineer. How should I approach a transition to trying to become a solutions architect? All right, let's make this the last question. So I'll try to answer it right now. Adrian says it's all about the cat. Yes, they know how to target their people. All right, so let me get to your answer, Louis. Infrastructure DevOps engineer, how should I recommend transition? So networking is the fundamentals of cloud. I mean, networking is, we can do anything without networking. The problem is networking is not sexy. It's not as sexy as serverless, it's not as sexy as saying Kubernetes, So fewer people tend to go to networking. Although, as I said, networking is, it's pretty much everything. So people who are interested in networking and underlying infrastructure, and I think they have a big advantage when it comes to transitioning to a solutions architect's role, because I would say there are a few of these people. I think the networking specialists, really experts in networking in AWS, in all Canada, you can count them on your hand, or one hand, or two hands, right? So if you want to specialize really in networking, because when I read your question, you talk about infrastructure. I thought about, my assumption is you're talking about like underlying infrastructure, so that's why I'm talking about networking. So networking infrastructure, it's something that is highly in demand. So how do you transition? I would say start, if you haven't done it yet, of course, start really working with infrastructure as code. Choose a framework if you haven't already, like CloudFormation, CDK, Terraform. Really doesn't matter. Just choose a framework and build all your infrastructure as code, because you want your environments to be reproducible. You want to be able to spin up an environment, spin it down as quick as possible, right? You want to be able to test your infrastructure. A lot of people write tests for their code, but they forget to test their infrastructure. You want to do that. You want to write code that deploys your infrastructure, tests it. Are the right ports open? Are the right services receiving this, pings? You're just doing pings. Am I able to write something in this database and I read from it? Am I able to scale my Elastic Cache cluster? So you want to be able to write infrastructure as code. You want to be able to test your infrastructure, and you want to be able to do everything that is, think about scaling your infrastructure beyond one region, right? You want to be able to build a system that at some point you can click on a button and you spin up a whole new environment in a whole different region. So these things will help you tremendously transition into the next step, which is, completely think about cloud native services, completely think about not only building an infrastructure, but building a scalable infrastructure, a fault-tolerant infrastructure, a highly available infrastructure, right? So you're not only building one database, you're building a database that spans on multiple availability zones, multiple regions. You talk with developers and they tell you the requirements, and you end up building them a multi-master cluster, right? For whatever requirements that they need, rather than just one master and the different reads and different read replicas. So yeah, I think those are the three things I would say. Infrastructure as code, build everything in a for high availability, scalability, and stuff like that, and think about disaster recovery. Disaster recovery is highly expensive for some people until they have a disaster. That's where they realize that disaster recovery is actually not that expensive. So try to help your organization, think more about disaster recovery strategies and policies. Don't wait until disaster happens. So yeah, those are things I think about. All right, you know what? 2 questions. 2 more minutes. Let's see what I can have here. Okay, so Non-Fun says, can you share with us the recent app mode project in AWS that you've done with a customer? I unfortunately can't. Things I work with customers on are highly confidential, so I can't. I can share with you some. No, sorry, man. I can. I mean, I can link to stuff, to use cases. I can link to use cases that are public around app mode. I'll do that. Don't worry. I'll add that in the description. All right. And the last question from Sayram. I'm just getting tired. I see many senior essays in AWS have like more than 16 years of experience as per their LinkedIn. I have 6 years architecture in AWS, overall 10 years. Is it advisable to apply for senior solutions position? I would say apply. And throughout the interview process, the people who are interviewing you, they will have a better idea. And even though you're applying for a senior position, they might come back and they might say, we think you are a valuable asset for this position, right? Which is not senior, but it's not associate either. It's, medium or intermediate position. So just apply. You never know. Or maybe you'll actually be surprised and the skills that you have are way above, you're a bar raiser and you will get to the senior position. So I would say, just go for it. All right, Louis says, awesome. I have worked with CloudFormation. Thanks. My job and Adrian's course, Terraform CDKs, I'm also very familiar with. Beautiful. Awesome. And Sayram says, we'll working with ProServe in the past help. Definitely. Why not? And I mean, I don't see why not. ProServe is a highly regarded, highly respected division within AWS. So, that's great. Well, how about Pulumi? Oh yeah, definitely. Pulumi, I put it in the same level as CDK, right? So it's whatever tool, infrastructure as code tool that you use. The important thing is that you use an infrastructure as code. All right, thank you guys. Thank you very much. I mean, you're thanking me for my time. I want to thank you for your time. You're giving me your time and your presence and your questions. Otherwise, I'll be just talking to my camera as a fool. If you have any other questions, I'll make sure to leave this to publish it and add as many details as I can in the description. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. If you think of anything else, just leave it in the comments, and I'll make I'll take it upon myself to answer you. So, thank you everyone. Have a good night, good morning, wherever you are. Peace out.